So it says I'm live, and it's the 9th of January 2026. Can you believe? Time is flying around, isn't it? It's just going so quick. And yeah, so we're here in the Northern Hemisphere, where it is. In Portugal, it's not too bad today. It's a bit sunny, nippy at the moment. I know in England it's absolutely freezing and snowy, I think, and icy. And there we've got Margaret telling us it's 41 degrees in Melbourne today. Hotter in some country Victorian town, resulting in some serious bushfires. Added to that, extremely strong north winds. Oh, wow. So it's always fascinating, isn't it, that you're in the middle of summer, we're in the middle of winter. And I used to like that time when I'd jump on a plane, fly to Australia, get off the plane in the middle of the British winter, and there was your summer. Fantastic. So yeah, it's but then you've got the other extremes, haven't you? You have the bushfires, and it can be pretty full on like that. And we've got Peter with us. Hello, Peter. And yeah, he's saying it's cold and damp in Warrington. No surprise. And Megan saying hi, everyone. Happy New Year. Hello, Megan. How are you doing? You hope you're good. And Kerry's with us from Arizona. Good to see you, Kerry. Clara's with us. Good morning from Ohio. Happy New Year. So glad it's Friday after a off week, drinking my coffee and hanging in there. Yeah, it's been, we just had a full moon, haven't we? It's been quite intense. I found that this full moon was pretty full on. Angela's going to tell us a lot more about that kind of thing because that's her field. So she'll be coming on in a minute. And yeah, so that's everyone. Sarah's with us. Hello, Sarah. I shall send some of the rain and snow and call into Margaret to Australia. And Ben's with us. Hello, Ben. Happy New Year to you. You're in the sunshine as well, in the heat and summer of Melbourne, aren't you? Good to see you, Ben. Thanks for joining. So let's bring Angela on. And some of you will remember Angela from last time. You came on, when was it, Angela?
I think it was a couple of years ago, now, or maybe a year and a half ago. It's been quite a long time.
It has, isn't it?
Time is actually speeding up. I swear to God, it is actually going a lot faster these days.
It does feel like that, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So what have you been doing in the last 18 months? What's been happening?
So for those of you who haven't met me, I'm a psychic medium. I actually started my spiritual journey by getting into Glenn's meditations and hypnosis back in 2016. Was very much entrenched in the Hare Krishna movement and just on a real spiritual journey. I lived in India for a while. But where I'm at now, Glenn, is just really harnessing my psychic development. I do psychic development classes. I teach tarot as well as individual readings as well, so mediumship. So yeah, if your viewers have any questions about the afterlife, the spirit world, psychic development, mediumship, astrology, just let me know. That's my realm. So
yeah. I mean, it's always such a fascinating subject, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because, and Russ has just put up Angela's Instagram and website. So if you want to follow Angela, they're the places to go. Yeah, it is such a fascinating thing, isn't it? The where we go afterwards and what happens and what becomes of us once we cross over. Yeah, I mean, that's a good starting point, isn't it? So, what in your experience is, do we take with us when we leave this planet, when we leave this reality that we know here? What do we become on the other side?
So from what I have been told from the spirit world, and I've also trained extensively at Arthur Findlay College, which is the home of the Spiritualist National Union, I have been told from them and from the best mediums in the world and from spirits that come through to me, including my own father, that when we cross over, the best analogy that I can give you is, this is what my dad told me. My dad's in the spirit world. He said, do you remember that scene in The Wizard of Oz where Dorothy wakes up and she's got all her family around her?
Yeah, it's probably about 55 years since I've seen it, but yeah. So, yeah.
So she's done the whole journey, and then it goes back in black and white, and she wakes up, and they're all her family around her, and she
Yeah.
was like, but it was so real, but it was
Mm,
actually just a dream. So really, I know this is a bit difficult for the human brain to comprehend. This is an illusion, what we're living in, and our real home is on the other side in the spirit world. So you
mm,
asked me, what do we take with us? It's just pure unconditional love. You
mm.
lose all your anxieties, all your stress, all the kind of worldly ego and things like that, and you're just in a place of pure unconditional love.
Mm. And you're with those that have passed over before, previously.
Absolutely.
The ones we
Absolutely.
obviously leave behind, the ones that we're with in this lifetime.
I believe we're with them, but not only them, but our soul family
Mm,
and people from different lifetimes. So we
mhm,
reckon that there's an instant recognition, there's a telepathic communication and a recognition from so many lifetimes ago,
mm.
um, who we're with in the spirit world. Yeah.
Right, yeah. Because you have that in life, don't you, where you recognize people who are strangers, but there's
Yes,
something about them, you feel like you know them, and you can
absolutely. Yeah. And that is past life recognition.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So have you had that many times?
I have when I went to India. So I've always, from a very young age, like 15, 16, 17, I was always painting Ganesh and Krishna and all
Mhm,
the Hindu gods and stuff. And when I was in my early 20s, I was just obsessed with going to India. And I
mhm.
remember very specifically, I arrived at Varanasi and I knew I'd been there before. I just knew it. It was just a feeling that was all encompassing. So you
Yeah,
get it with places as well, not just people, but with certain places in the world.
yeah.
Yeah,
You resonate, don't you, with in certain locations. The
yeah,
land feels comfortable, and,
absolutely.
I feel that here in Portugal, you know,
Yes.
and, there are I learned that from a shaman 15 years ago. He said it's really important to live somewhere where you feel a resonance with the place, because in
Mm.
that life, everything will, work for you. There'll be an alignment in your life because of that.
Do
And
you
yeah,
do you feel that you had a past life in Portugal?
um, that's a good question. I don't know specifically. I wouldn't know. No, I don't. I've never had a feeling that I have. I
Mm.
feel that I'm pretty, you know, very, very English. You
Yeah.
know, I've done the DNA test. You can do DNA tests where you can, work out where your DNA actually comes from. And
Mhm.
I'm actually more Irish and Scandinavian than I am British.
Mhm.
Yeah, and my family originate from Ireland, but then
Yeah.
most people's family do. The
Yeah.
The Irish colonized half the world, didn't they?
Yeah. But do you think there could be a karmic link to Portugal because you feel so at home there, or it could be something in your astrology because you can do astro to I don't do it, but astro topography. I don't know if I pronounced that right, but it's basically to tell you where it, yeah, to tell you in the
Yeah.
world where it's all aligned and is the best place for you.
Yeah, I have done that before, and I think mine came back as Cuba, of all
Oh
places.
wow.
Yeah, yeah, and I've always kind of liked the idea of Cuba. It's very vibrant, isn't it? And the music's a big part of their culture.
Yeah.
I've never been there. Lee's been a couple of times, interestingly, but I've never been out there. But yeah, Cuba's the place.
Yeah. That would be
And
cool. Apart from the communism.
well, yeah, that's the bit of a downside. But it's changed a lot, hasn't it? Now it's become a little bit
I
more
think it's better
Western.
now. Sorry, there was a
Yeah,
white light that was shining down, so I was just trying to move my screen. Yeah, I think so. But I'd like to visit Cuba. It's a very unique place,
yeah,
It's very I don't know, I've heard mixed things, but I would like to visit. It'd be cool.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
You got a certain place that you really resonate with in the world.
I mean, I've been to India 5 times. So I'd have to say India. I've traveled around India, I've lived in India. Um, there was definitely a past life in India, and I'd love to go to old Persia. I'd love to try time travel back to old Persia, not Iran, but if you can see the painting on my wall, I've always been obsessed with, like, there was a game when I was young that came out which was called The Prince of Persia, and I was
Uh,
obsessed with it. I don't know if you heard of that. A
it rings a
computer.
bell. It does a bell, yeah.
Yeah, so anything like that part of the world. Obviously, I wouldn't go now in the Middle East. But yeah, that part of the world, the East has really called me always.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, guys, if you've got any questions here, feel free to ask anything about past lives, spiritualism, mediumship. And Kate is saying that's why I moved to the sea a year ago. I feel like I had a past life connected to the sea.
Mm.
That, that often calls you to this certain, parts of being close to the sea is such an amazing thing, isn't it? We're close here, and I love it. It's
It's yeah, it's very healing energy as well, being around water. Kate, was it Kate who asked that question? Did you?
yeah,
Yeah, it's very healing being around water as well. So I'm curious to see if there's lots of water signs in your chart, in your astrological chart. So you're just drawn to being around water. But yeah, I agree with that.
yeah, yeah. So you've really motored on in your career. It's really because I saw the pictures of you when you were at the college. Do you still
Yeah,
go to the college, or have you
I
kind of?
do. Yeah. Yeah, so for those of you who don't know, I train at the Arthur Findlay College, which is in Stansted in Essex in the UK, and it's the home of the Spiritualist National Union, and it's the best place in the world for mediumship, psychic studies, and I've done, since 2022, I've done 5 courses, and the last one I did, I was really pushed to my limit. So you stay there, it's a week-long course, and it's just mediumship. You're up at 8 o'clock, you're in meditation, you're blending with the spirit world, so you expand your auric field to blend with the spirit world, and you're practicing giving readings, and then you're
Mm,
doing demonstrations and stuff. So it's very intense. You're working from about 8 a.m. to 9 p.m., but with
wow,
like lectures and meditations and stuff. But guys, if you're near Stansted, just go for open weekend. It's one of the most beautiful. It's George, not George Harrison's old house. It's that's the Hare Krishna temple. I'm getting confused. It
yeah. Well,
it's
Jill
a
bought the active Adenta Manor, didn't he, for the Krishna guys?
yeah,
He lived at Henley Park, didn't he, which was
yeah.
the old Gothic mansion.
Yeah, and those are my two favorite places in the UK. George Harrison's old house, the Hare Krishna temple, which I go to, haven't been in ages, but in Watford,
Yeah,
and the Arthur Findlay College, which is a stately home,
yeah,
near
yeah,
enough a stately, just beautiful grounds, and really the energy when you walk in is just,
yeah.
it does something to you, those places.
I think that's the thing when when there's so much positive intention over a long period of time,
Yeah,
the walls hold a certain energy, don't they? And the
absolutely.
land does when there's all that good intention. And it's the same with the Bhakti Vedanta Manor.
Yeah,
You know, those, it's just about being of service. It's music, it's art, it's creativity, it's worship, and that's just 24/7 at those places. So when you
yeah.
walk in, you can feel it.
You
It's,
feel
it's amazing.
you
And it's one of
feel
my favorite places as well. I love it there.
I do. I go for or I used to go for Jamash. I can never say it. Jamashtami, Krishna's birthday in August, Jamashtami, and it's
Yeah,
just such a high vibration of just like-minded people in the walls of the buildings, in the grounds. It's just a
yeah. Have you
beautiful,
been to
beautiful
that big annual festival, the number one festival they have there, with
Krishna's
this
for
like
Krishna's birthday. Yeah,
people?
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's in August.
Yeah,
Um,
been a couple
it's
of times to that.
Yeah, yeah, me too. I love it. I haven't been
Yeah,
for a long time, but I need to go back there.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, when we come over, we'll let you know. We'll all go because
Yeah,
it's
definitely.
magical. It's
Yeah.
incredible.
Well, that's how I met Lee through. Oh, sorry, gone.
Yeah, I'm just going to say I managed to get into the main room. You know, the main room there where they've got the sort of deity at the front and all the. It's quite a big room, a good sized room, and I remember walking in there and they were all chanting, and they got to the point in the chanting where they were bouncing up and down and singing their hearts out, and the music was firing, and it was just so uplifting. You know,
It's
just walking in, not having started in it, but walking into that energy, and it was such an uplift. It was just incredible.
I remember
Um,
when I first started getting into it, and it was like around that time, and it was around the time I was listening to your hypnosis. I discovered your hypnosis and meditations, and that's how I knew or got to know Lee, because I was like, oh, he's into the Hare Krishna as well. So we both met through Instagram on that. But um,
yeah,
it really removed me from a life that no longer aligned to me. My when I was in my 20s or even early 30s, I was a real party girl. I was, I was very much going down the wrong path. And the Hare Krishna movement, I'd say, along with mediumship, that really took me out of
mm,
that path and put me in onto a much better path. So
yeah. And it's
it,
good you had that contrast, wasn't it? It's good
yeah,
you lived that life and you did all those things. And you know, when you get into the Hare Krishna thing, it's just so spiritually pure and uplifting.
yeah,
Because you have highs in nightclubs, can't you? Know, if we were all young and we all took things we shouldn't, and you get those unnatural highs.
yeah.
But when you experience the real highs from spirit, that's just beautiful, isn't it? But you've got the comparison, which is nice.
I remember in 2016, I was friends with a devotee at the Hare Krishna temple, and he used to have these mantra nights where the monks from the temple would come and we'd be chanting
Mm,
kirtan, we'd be all be chanting Hare Krishna, and it was one of the best experiences of my life because I'd never experienced having a
mm,
natural high like that with no drugs, no alcohol. And I remember coming away thinking, this is amazing. This is the best thing that I've ever done. Because there's just so much, you felt like you were taken into a different dimension. And all
yeah,
you were doing was the chanting. It's
yeah.
insane.
Lee said exactly the same to me. He got so into it. He was traveling around, or not traveling, but he was going to different temples around Europe. And he went to one in Hungary, and he said that they went off into the woods and they chanted for about 4 hours in the woods. And he phoned me up afterwards. He said, Dad, he said, I've just had the best experience I've ever had in my life. He said, it was the ultimate high. He said, I've been crying for an hour.
Oh,
He said,
wow.
he was just so beautiful. And he said,
Yeah.
you know, just in this state of bliss. And I still remember that call and how high he was from chanting. And it did, it changed his life. It was the same kind of similar journey to yours where, you know, he was going to all the sort of best nightclubs because he was hanging around with the guys from Essex.
Yeah.
You know, some of the guys that were in that show, you know, the Only Way is Essex, they were sort of in the fringe of the circle he was hanging around with.
Yeah. I forget he's an Essex boy.
Yeah, and so he was really into that designer clothes. You know, he was obsessed about having a nice car and so look, you paid 300 for that jacket, and I said all it is a logo. I said you've
Yeah.
paid for 300 for that logo, but he couldn't get it. And then a couple of years later, he got into the Krishna thing, and his life changed so much.
Yeah.
He'd be going off with the guys to nightclubs, and he'd stop, see a homeless guy on the street, and he'd end up in a restaurant with the homeless guy, and his mates would go to the club because he valued that more than having a wild night in a club. And he
Yeah.
just took him off in a different direction. He ended up meeting and marrying an Indian girl who was a devotee, and
Yeah.
yeah,
They got married at the temple, didn't they?
yeah, yeah,
That's
yeah.
awesome.
It
Yeah,
was
he
brilliant.
told me that story and it just completely changed his path. So I resonate with that. We've got similar stories, but it
Yeah,
does, I feel these things come in at different times, like the spirit world or your higher self, whatever, bring in certain people, certain things like Hare Krishna movement or spiritualism just to get you on the right path.
Yeah, and it's a really interesting thing, isn't it? Because, you know, I've just written my book and my book's gone out there, and the kind of pivotal part of it, as I was writing the book, you know, I was looking back at my journey and thinking, you know, how far I'd come and how different my life was as a young kid. You know, I was a delinquent. I was a complete delinquent and in and out of magistrates courts. You know, I say in the book, I was on first names terms with the local magistrate, and it's a joke, but it's not far removed from the truth.
Yeah,
And when I look at my life then and how it is now and how I've dedicated it to healing and, you know, kind of high vibrational things, it really took me back to I had this epiphany, and it's in the book. I wrote about it because as time's gone on, I realized what a real pivotal moment that was. And you know, you and Lee had the awakening because you saw the Krishna thing and it took you in that way. Mine was kind of an instantaneous, spontaneous thing that happened one night. I
yeah,
was driving home. I used to drive a minicab around the West End at night. And one night I was driving home, 4 o'clock in the morning, and suddenly I had this massive awakening. And it was so profound. I might have told you before, I've certainly told the members, they've probably heard it about 6 times, but it was such a pivotal moment that it took my life in a completely different direction. And I
yeah,
had this thirst for knowledge, and I went to the local library and I went to the spiritual section the next day. And I'd never been interested in that at all before that moment. And I found this book, and it was a book because they didn't have a lot in the library. So it was a book called Jesus, You and Me by Cliff Richard. And I thought, well, it's not quite what I'm looking for, but it will do. And I read it back to front, took the sort of couple of nuggets from it, and just went on this journey. And I look back and I think that was such a blessing to have that instant wake up, because for
yeah,
some people it's more gradual. Some people, you know, I suppose I was living quite
yeah.
a austere life, so it was a bit of a harsh wake up. I needed to wake up, you know. But
How old
yeah,
were you when you had that spiritual awakening?
say again.
How old were you when you had that spiritual awakening and in the minicab?
Probably my late 20s.
Saturn return.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
In your, there's a calculator online, but it's that's a pivotal moment. It's either 28, 29, or 30 around that time. And with your birth chart, time you were born, all of that, you calculate it, and that's your Saturn return. So the
Uh,
Saturn is like heavy lessons, and then there's like transformation. So it sounds like you had that around that time.
the weird thing is, it's funny you say that because, and I wrote about this in the book, that when I was a kid, I used to have this big thing around the number 28. And I used to, and I knew it was like the end of something. And I used to think I was going to die at 28. So when I got to 28, I was pretty spooked. I thought, right, I didn't do it. I played it very safe that year
Yeah,
because I honestly thought I was going to die. It was such a strong feeling that something at 28 was going to happen, big, really big to me. And
yeah,
and when that epiphany happened, I didn't equate it. The whole story hadn't come together at that point because you're kind of, I was just in it.
yeah,
And it was only later when I look back and I thought of growing up and thinking I was going to die when I was 28. And in a way, the old part of me did die. And then the
yeah.
new spiritual part of me was awakened. And then I went off on this other journey.
I
But yeah,
reckon your soul must have known that you were going to have a transformation around 28, because there is that knowing, there is an inner knowing. When we incarnate down here, we have amnesia. So we
yeah,
don't remember our soul contract or the lessons and everything. But I reckon something slipped through the net and you knew, your
yeah,
spirit knew there was a turning point at 28.
yeah. Well, it's a vague knowing, isn't it? It's not when you connect with your feelings, the fear comes through. So it was more about the fear that something was going to happen at 28. If I'd have
Right.
known it was this massive epiphany, I'd have celebrated it. But it's
Yeah.
not meant to be like that. You know,
But
you have to learn it the right way.
but you knew something was going to happen, something big
I
was going
did.
to happen.
Yeah, yeah, that was
Yeah,
it. Yeah, I think just however you awaken and the fact you do awaken is the blessing, isn't it, in this life?
yeah,
Because we all know people who go through their whole lives completely shut down and just you know, pay their mortgage, watch the telly, and
Believe the news.
believe the news, you know, get
Yeah.
jabbed, that stuff, and they
Oh,
never wake up.
yeah. But I feel, you know, I'm at the stage now, and you probably are. I'm sure you are, and maybe not so much Lee, because I don't know about his past, but I'm so grateful for everything. I didn't have the best childhood. I didn't have, you know, I'm not saying like poor me or anything, but I went through, you know, the first half of my life, in my up to my 20s, was not good. But I'm really
Yeah,
glad I experienced that, because it wouldn't have got me on to doing, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing now, and can relate to some people similar to you with your
yeah,
with, you know. And I'm gonna download your book. It's Awaken and Ascend, isn't it?
yeah,
I
yeah.
download
I
that
think
to show the polarities of your life before and your life. And you wouldn't be doing this work if you hadn't have
no,
had addictions, or been through
yeah,
that and had such a low vibe, you know, like just being the low
yeah,
emotions.
yeah, because none of my family, you know, I look back and my granddad was a bare knuckle boxer, my dad was a wheeler dealer, they're all into gambling. And so I completely broken that male lineage, changed it.
Yeah,
And I think it's true, it's really true what you said, you know, it's because you go through those crazy experiences when you're younger that, you know, allow you, they enable you to seek. You're looking for something better. You're looking for a way out of it because you know it's not aligned. But I think it's your soul that really drives it. And you know, I think, and what happens when you do become the therapist, when you find your path, you know, like mediumship and hypnotherapy, you find the path, and you're better at it because of those experiences.
absolutely.
You
Yeah,
have the knowledge, you have the real life experiences, the knowledge, you've lived a bit.
the
So when
depth.
you're helping people, you know you've got that natural empathy with them,
Yeah.
and that's powerful. You can't get that from a book.
Yeah, absolutely. And I also think if you've lost people close to you, if you've been through intense, heartbreaking grief as well, it makes you a better medium, because
Yeah,
mediumship, it's sitting with the client as well, and it's holding space for them for grief. And a lot of, I've done a lot of courses on grief and bereavement,
yeah,
counseling, and things like that as well. You become a better medium, more empathic to have
yeah.
that experience. Yeah.
The experience with your dad has obviously taught you a lot and massively impacted your work, hasn't it?
Absolutely. I always heard voices when I was very young. Even, you know, 10, 12 years ago, I was going to spiritualist churches, and I was still bringing through spirit. But when my dad died, it was like my skyrocketed. And
Right.
that's because I was searching. I wanted him to come through. And it completely propelled my mediumship and the work that I'm
And
doing now.
the connection was super strong because you wanted to connect with him. You needed to.
Yeah, and it's funny. I have a better relationship with my dad now than when he was alive. You know, he comes through, he helps me with readings and stuff. He sometimes I hear him about the client, like, oh, she's working at a job, but she wants to be self-employed. I'm like, all right, thanks. So he's like my guide in spirit.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah,
Same. I mean, my mum. You know, I reference her in the book a couple of times. You know, and I had the most, you know, toxic relationship with my mum growing up. I mean, she tried to kill me. You know,
I didn't know
it was
that, really.
it
Oh,
was it was really, yeah, it was bad. It was really bad. You know, it was like she'd throw knives at me, vases. You know, my dad said to me one night, he said, "Oh, your mum, I had to stop her coming. She was heading into your room. She had a knife in her hand and all that." It was really crazy.
I didn't know
And
it was.
yeah, and I used to run away from home because of that. You know, so you know, it got to as bad as it could be, you know, mother and son relationship. But when I got on the healing path and I started to, you know, understand that sometimes these relationships are karmic. And
Yes.
a shaman told me that, you know, I'd been in past lives, I, you know, mistreated my mom. And as soon as I understood that, and I know some people are not completely on board with this, but you know, for
Yeah.
me, it resonated with me. And as soon as I knew that, I completely came out of that victim mode, that my mum was not a good mum, and and all of that. And I stopped seeing her as, kind of the persecutor that I'd always seen her in that way. And I started to just understand that it's karma.
Yeah.
And I started towards, I changed, and then I went on this healing journey, and then she got interested in it, and we used to meditate together, and we did therapy together. It was pretty hard, tough going, but we sat in therapy rooms and we healed a lot of our relationship. And when she passed, it was really blissful because she had me and my two brothers with her, and we were laughing and joking, all the way right up until she passed, and kind of dark humor, South London humor. We were laughing all the way, and it was she couldn't have left in a better way, because for the first time she had her three sons holding her at the moment of death, and I'd healed a lot of the karmic wounds that we had between us. And I know that when I again, it'll be a different journey completely, because, and so I'm really pleased that happened, and we had that experience, and we were able to heal a lot of it.
That's so lovely that you had that before she died, and it sounds like she went on a spiritual journey before she crossed over.
Yeah. Well, she did, because, my wife at the time, Ali, she was very close with my mum, and, she got interested in the journey we were going on, but I think her soul was ready to wake up as well. I think that's what it's all about. When you had the awakening through the Krishna the Krishna movement, you were ready. He was ready. I was ready when I had that epiphany, and you can't have that unless you're ready to awaken in this lifetime. Some people just have to sleep through it, and maybe 2 or 3 lifetimes on, they have their awakening. So we're all on that path, aren't we?
We're all on that path. I'll tell you what, though, over the next 5 years, 4 years, a lot of people are going to be waking up. If they're not already, I mean, God, with everything going on in the world, it's so much corruption's being uncovered, and it's, God, I could talk for England about that, but the planet of Pluto is transiting Aquarius, and last time that happened, it was the French Revolution and the American Revolution. So this year is start of revolution. You can feel it.
You can. People are sort of rising up now, aren't they? And
people.
It's you're seeing more and more of it every day.
Absolutely, it started with COVID, and now it's like everyone's awake.
Yeah. Do you think they are? Because I was massively frustrated during COVID. Because right in, I could see through it all. It was just such a joke to me, and I couldn't believe that people were falling for it. And then you had rock stars and Hollywood figures, regurgitating this narrative, this fake narrative that the government and media. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. It was just so mind blowing. And I got so frustrated at that time that I thought it just made me realize that 80-90% of the planet are just in a coma. And I thought, even at the end of it, didn't seem like that. But so I kind of turned my back on it. I thought, well, look, this is the world we live in. A lot of people are still asleep. You've got to deal with it, and maybe don't have these conversations everywhere you go, because you're going to be arguing with everyone. So just, I changed a little bit, and I backed away from it. And so I'm a little bit out of touch with it. That's kind of what I'm saying.
It's so hard. I mean, I had arguments, not arguments, but tensions at Christmas for saying certain things. But you can't talk to people that watch the BBC News and believe everything they say, and it's like just so entrenched in the system. It's so frustrating. But they're going to wake up in their own time.
Yeah. I mean, I had a friend in Spain who, really, when we first went to Spain, they helped us, and they were really great friends, and it was one of those moments when they started to roll out the vaccine. I said, look, I was telling everyone, don't get it, because I thought it was my duty to tell them. And he was getting it. I said, Andy, look, it's the worst thing you can do. Don't do it. And I ended up arguing with him for about 6 months, and I sent him all this stuff, doctors and everything, and he still got it. And then I went back over about a year ago, and he said, he said, I've got thrombosis, you know, blood clots. And he said to me, and it was his son's, what was it? His son's, not wedding, but it was a big family do, and it was his son's 30th, a big family do. And
Mm.
he said, I've got thrombosis. I'm getting blood clots. And I thought, and he said, I don't know where they're coming from. And I
Well,
thought,
he still doesn't.
I still didn't, unless he just didn't want to admit to me because he felt stupid. I don't know, but you know, and I thought, I don't want to upset him, but his sons do. So I didn't say anything, you know, I just sort of leave it.
Yeah,
And I found that so frustrating that
yeah.
we were in such a world of polarities. You know, it really brought it home to me at that time. And that was the biggest frustration. You know, I've come to peace with it since. You know, went back just recently. We saw them, went out for a lunch, and we had a great time. But we just don't, certain things you can't talk about, you know.
Yeah, but then it's like like the trivial stuff just seems so meaningless when there's so much going on. And I mean, COVID
Yeah,
was just the start. I mean now, I mean, if people think that, you know, that uncontrolled mass migration and illegal immigration, you think they can't stop the boats like that? We've got a whole navy. This is all planned. Digital ID, it's all an agenda 2030. But some people still can't see it. So
it's
it's frustrating.
yeah. We won't talk. I know some of you get a bit frustrated when we talk about this subject, but
Oh,
it's
sorry.
no. I'm completely. You know, it's my topic that I get into from time to time. But what was I going to say? Yeah, this fella that followed me, he listens to my recording, you know, and when it all happened, he said, "I'm so glad you're awake." He said to me, "This is worse than where I grew up." He grew up in Eastern Europe in a very fascist country. I can't remember where it was, but he said it was far worse. It's far worse now because when we grew up in that fascism, although the fascism was really heavy, he said we were all united. The whole country was united against the fascists, the government.
Yeah,
That was easy because we had the common bond between us. He said,
yeah,
but now, he said, you've got people spouting this bullshit government narrative, and they're kind of doing the government's job, and
yeah.
they're fighting against you. And so they've got everyone divided about gender issues, about religion, about race. Everyone's arguing about these things while they get away with murder, and
It's
that's
there.
their plan.
Yeah, it's there. It's all by design. Like Antifa, they support Antifa. It's all government funded. If you want to go to a far left organization, Antifa, they give you all the money. They pay people to, you know, oppose Tommy Robinson and all of that. So they're on that. The government have their little, you know,
Yeah,
corrupt organized. Yeah, sorry.
no, that's you're spot on. They're pitting us against each other, and
Yeah,
I'm feeling, unfortunately, so many people are still falling for it.
divide and conquer. Yeah.
Divide and conquer, yeah. So Kerry is saying, how can I reach those who have passed?
I believe you can still reach those that have passed. Number one, you need to be in the right place. If you are grieving, the grief acts as a fog. So it's difficult for your loved ones to communicate with you if you're grieving. Okay. If you're highly stressed and under a lot of pressure, it makes it harder. So make sure you're in the right space. First thing is to quiet your mind. Listen to Glenn's hypnosis, meditations, all of that. And then I would say, as starters, ask for a sign. Just say, I want you, please, can you give me this sign? And just start with signs and then just quieten the mind. Do as much meditation as you can. The way that the spirit world communicate with you is through your auric field. So you expand your auric field and they come in and you get that blend and they will communicate through, you can hear, so clairaudience, clairvoyance is when you see, clairsentient is when you feel, and you just really slowly just start writing things down that you get, and just set your intentions. Say, if your mum and dad or whoever in spirit world, I want to communicate with you, please. It is possible. It is absolutely possible.
And Angela, Clara's asking a good question. Are people often skeptical of the work you do, and how do you deal with their skepticism?
Do you know what? It was a lot harder a few years ago when I was still in the corporate world, but now so many of my friends are psychics and mediums, and I have a whole community of people that everyone, not everyone, but most people I know are spiritual, on the spiritual path. So I don't really encounter skeptics, or if I do, that's not really, I don't really talk about my work. You know, I guess it's the equivalent of Glenn not talking about the stuff we were talking about earlier to people that aren't awake. You know, it doesn't really bother me. I'm just here to help people and who have lost loved ones and want to connect with their loved ones. Psychic readings, and the right people will find you. So yeah, it's not really a thing. I think it was years back when I was in the corporate world, because I was in a very, very different world
Yeah.
environment.
I remember you. I remember speaking to you at that time, and you were saying how difficult it was to be around, people who are so shut down, and
Yeah,
it's the hardest thing when you're awake and you yearn for those conversations where you can just speak freely, and when
yeah,
you meet somebody who's spiritually minded and awake, you can meet them for the first time and talk to them for hours, and it never dries up because
yeah,
it's a much deeper connection, isn't it? And
absolutely.
I love that when that happens randomly. It's just such a great thing.
I do. Finding your tribe is so important. Like being around like-minded people is so important if you're on this path.
Yeah. Do you find you've got that now?
Oh God, yeah, definitely. Yeah,
Yeah.
because I've been to Arthur Findlay College so many times. I've just got so many psychics and mediums as friends, and the work I do. So yeah, I'm very lucky.
Yeah. It's funny, isn't it? When because like I said earlier, my life has been extremes, when I think of where I came from, where I'm at. And, I'm a healer, I'm a hypnotherapist, and, peace and love. And sometimes some of my old mates that I hung around with as a teenager get in touch with me. And I had this one guy that I lived with him for about 6 months in a squat in London when I was about 17. Terry Stone was his name. And he was a character. He was like the wildest kid. He was in and out of Borstal all of his teenage life. And if me and my band were doing a gig, he'd actually break out and come and see us. And he'd turn up on my doorstep in disguises. He looked like
Oh, break out of the prison. He broke out of the prison.
he'd come out and he'd turn up in a overcoat, a hat. He looked like Peter Sellers in the Pink Panther. He'd have a little moustache. He was nuts. He was absolutely crazy. And he used to pick me up in stolen cars, and we used to get into all kinds of mischief. And he got in touch with me about 5 or 6 years ago, out of the blue. And he said, "Oh, what have you been up to?" He said, "You're writing books and you're doing meditations. Yeah, that's amazing." And I said, what have you been up to? And he said, "Well, I've just done 25 years. And he started robbing banks in the 90s, and he was on the top 10 wanted list. And
Wow.
he was just the wildest character. But when he was in the prison, he made friends with Dave Gilmour's son, the guy out of Pink Floyd.
Yes, yeah. No Pink
He got
Floyd.
put away because he desecrated the cenotaph in London. He did something, he vandalized. So he put him away, and this kid was skinny. He was like geeky and very gentle. So Terry took him under his wing, looked after him. And when he came out, he was getting invited to the Pink Floyd family dues and weddings. And he'd message me from the front of the stage at a Pink Floyd gig. And this guy, I had a life of extremes, but his life was just crazy. And he passed away a couple of years ago. Because another thing he'd done, he discovered art. He had a talent for art in prison. And as an ex-lifer, when he came out, he was in galleries in London. He was hosting galleries. And the media were all over him because he was a talented ex-lifer and that kind of thing. And if I'd have been in England, I'd have gone and hooked up with him again. But it's probably, I don't know, it's probably best their paths didn't cross again because, he was wild. But yeah, sometimes your past comes back, and
Yeah,
realize how different life was then and how it is now.
yeah.
Yeah, probably the same for you, I guess.
Yeah, I don't really, the people that I hung around with in my 20s, I'm not really yeah, that group was, yeah, I'm not really friends with them. I'm like one or two that I've known my whole life, but yeah, my life is very, very different now. So I can
Yeah.
imagine that. But it's great that he discovered art in prison. I guess he's got the time to do it, you know. It's nice.
Yeah, and he had a talent for it. And it's kind of made me realize, because he was all over our band. When I was in a band, we sent him out with a couple. We gave him tins of spray paint and said, "Tell, go and put our name on the wall in the local town." And I'm not kidding you. He absolutely covered Orpington in like massive high letters, the vagrants. We were called the vagrants. And he'd scaled up these walls, hung off the side of buildings, and like put our name in, and it was in massive letters all over Orpington, to the point where the local paper ran a headline the next week: "Who are the vagrants?"
That's
And
great publicity.
so it was the best publicity I've ever had in my life. It was just amazing. And so yeah, I mean, these I would never reconnect with people like that. They'd be in my past, but obviously with Facebook, and because they've seen me, I don't know, in bookstores, you know, some people have got in touch because they found my book in Waterstones, or and yeah, it's been kind of a blessing and a curse at times, because normally those your life stays in the past, and the people you were with at that time stay in the past. But because
Yeah.
yeah, because I've got a bit of a profile, people come back, and it's the weirdest thing, because you suddenly remember all the things that I remember, some of the things I got up to, and I think, Jesus, you know, that was
I
nuts.
know. It,
And it's
it,
quite funny though.
yeah, because it must feel like a completely different guy in a different lifetime, you know?
Yeah, I feel Nick says that to me sometimes. He says, you've like lived 5 different lives in this one lifetime. And
Mm.
but I think it was always my soul trying to. I always remember I wanted to do good in the world. I really wanted to do good, but I just didn't know how to. I grew up in a violent, dysfunctional household. I was running away when I was 12. I didn't know
Yeah.
how to be. I just knew how to get drunk and, you know, get into trouble. And because I was a product of my environment. But there was a part of me that wanted to break out of that desperately. I think when opportunity came along, I just took it with both hands.
Yeah, I
You know,
remember your story when you said you were on the streets and stuff at one point, and then you were on the law of attraction, and you were focusing so much on that. There, didn't you say that the room vibrated? Like you were really manifesting and just turned it
yeah,
around. Yeah,
yeah.
incredible.
When I became a hypnotherapist, I learned about the power of the mind. You know, I was doing a gig. I was on the cabaret circuit at that point, and we shared the bill with the stage hypnotist. And I watched him manipulating the audience, and I just saw the power of hypnosis, and I wanted to learn it.
Mm.
And so I was so drawn to it. And they said at the time only 5% of students become hypnotherapists, because it's quite a, you know, you can learn the skills, but to make them work consistently with people. I was so determined, and I was so passionate about it. And I was literally meditating every day for like, you know, an hour or 2 hours. I was in that state, and I was projecting out. I felt it was like I'd found this superpower,
Yeah,
you know, and I realized that I didn't have to stay stuck. I didn't have to stay broke. I could
yeah,
change everything from the inside out. So I visualized the life I wanted. And Niggy, no, Ali used to say to me at the time, she'd say the bed is actually vibrating when you do that. She could feel it. So I got so immersed in it, and the power of trance, and I knew it was working. I knew it was going to change everything.
yeah,
And yeah, I feel so blessed that I had those awakening experiences
yeah.
that took me on
It's
that path. And
such an amazing transformation.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And I'm lucky, because having all those colourful stories, I can, you know, when I put them in the book, they're interesting, because, you know, my friend of mine said, well, you know, not many people have slept in doorways when they were kids and got arrested, and, you know, and ended up as a, you know, self-help person.
Successful as well. Do you know what you are? You're the alchemist. You've alchemized all of that pain, all of that hardship into something really good
Yeah,
that's helping other people.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
cool. I
I
love
love
stories.
that book. I love the
Yeah,
book.
I do. Yeah.
one of my favorite books.
Good.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
So we've got a couple of questions.
Yeah.
Kate is saying, my daughter is interested in good tarot training. Do you feel you can change people? Do you feel you can charge people for a reading if you're properly trained? She'd love to take it forward as a career.
So just get me this. Her daughter has learnt tarot, and she
Yeah.
wants to start
And
charging clients.
yeah, yeah, she's
Yeah,
very naturally talented, she says. So yeah.
absolutely. When I learnt tarot, at first I was just doing it for I think a year or two, just on friends and family, and I was making predictions. I was getting stuff. And then the more you tell your daughter, the more that you do tarot as well. You're not just reading the cards, you are using all your senses. You're seeing things, you're hearing things, you're getting visions, you're feeling things. So it's always in conjunction with psychic abilities. But yeah, I would recommend her doing friends and family first of all. And then once she feels confident enough, then she can, yeah, absolutely, she can start charging and do it professionally. If she's,
Did you? Yeah, that's a good question, actually. Did you ever have a point where, because that's always, I always remember as a hypnotherapist, you come out of college, you've got all the skill sets,
yeah,
and then suddenly you've got to start charging people. And a lot of people struggle with that step
yeah,
because you kind of, you can have a little bit of the imposter syndrome at the beginning because you've learned it, but you haven't succeeded yet. You haven't had 100 clients that have told you you've done a great job for them. So
mhm.
you need to, it's an interesting part of that journey, isn't it? Did you ever have any struggles at that point in your career?
So this is the thing about me, I always had my corporate job because I never wanted to rely on the money because it was my passion as well. I never want to take the joy out of it. So I always had my income from my job, and then I'd be
Yeah.
doing tarot and stuff. But with me, it just happened slowly over about 20 years, 20, yeah, about 20 years. So I would just say to your daughter, just slowly, but it is important that you charge because it's a service and it's energy as well. There's always got to be an exchange, even if it's not monetary. There's got to be some kind of exchange
Yeah,
when
that's good
yeah,
advice.
yeah.
So Ben is saying, Angela, which would you consider your strengths as a medium to best connect with spirit? There are many senses called clairs. Could you share what of all the clairs are? You did touch on it earlier, but yeah.
Yes, so there is clairaudience, which used to be my number one, which is where you hear, and it's literally like having a telephone conversation with the spirit world. There's clairvoyance, where you see, and there's clairsentience, when you feel. I have all of those abilities. My favorite one is clairaudience or telepathic communication, because you can it's like having a phone call. I love it. And when I was last at Arthur Findlay College, I said to one of the tutors, I'm like, they're not using clairaudience as much. What's going on? I'm getting more clairsentient. And she said, well, is that a strong one before? And I was like, no, I like my clairaudience. And she said, well, what the spirit world do is they play around with you. So eventually you have all of the clairs. But yeah, I have all of those abilities. But yeah, you do have favorite ones. Sure.
Yeah, that's good. Is it related to your dominant sense, your strongest
Yeah,
clair?
I love music.
Right.
I love music. Yeah, I love Dire Straits and I love 70s. I was probably born in the wrong era. I love 70s music and I'm very musical. So yes, spot on. That's probably why.
Interesting. Lee's the same. Lee's the same. He listens to a lot of the stuff that I was listening to growing up.
Yeah.
And even the sort of punk stuff, like the Clash and all that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, so that's why I always heard voice. I mean, when I was a child, I'd heard voices. So yeah, that makes sense because I love music.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I'm kinesthetic. I tend to feel things, when I go into my
Yeah.
feelings, I get with things
Yeah.
strongly. And Sarah is saying, my dad came through to me on the night he passed and was on a beach letting me know he was okay. Wow.
Oh, that's amazing. I love
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Incredible.
That is so cool.
Yeah. Yeah. And Alison is saying, thank you for this. Thank you for this discussion. Last year, my beloved dog, Bracken, suddenly died, and the loss continues to be far more profound than any human I've lost physically. Why would that be?
Just because it's a pet or an animal, it doesn't make it any less painful than losing a human, because they are part of your everyday life. You've had him there every single day, and there's a soul connection there that can be far more profound than a relationship even with a sibling or a family member. So don't let anyone tell you otherwise. I have brought through pets before. It's not my speciality, but I do know a very good pet medium. If you ever want a recommendation, reach out to Glenn. He can reach out to me. But you may have had a past life with, it was a dog. You may have had the past life with a dog, or there's a karmic connection there, or this was part of your same soul group. So don't underestimate. If anyone says anything derogatory, no, that's just as important. I'm really sorry that it's been so painful.
So there we go, Alison. If you need that help, Angela can connect you with her colleague. And Charity is saying, how and when did you realize this was your gift?
So I always heard voices. Like I said, I had quite a not the best childhood, and I had a few incidents where I was in a really bad place and I'd hear voices. I think I was quite depressed as a child. I'd hear voices telling me things, and I didn't really think much of it. But then as I got into my 20s, in my party life, it started coming back, and a really significant thing happened. I had a significant breakup in my 20s, and I started hearing my ex-boyfriend's thoughts and feelings and tapping into conversations, which just sounds absolutely crazy, but it went on for 7 years. And that was really the start of telepathic. Telepathic.
What he was.
I can hear when people are talking about me, good or bad. I know it sounds mental, depending on how strong the energy is.
Yeah. Is that because, do they have to have had a real strong connection with you?
Not necessarily strong. I've heard it with old friends before. I've just various people. Yeah. So yeah, I've had it all my life, but it really kind of ramped up in my 20s, late 20s. Yeah.
Wow, that's a big thing to hold, isn't it? If you know when people are talking about you, and because you often wonder, if you have a disagreement with somebody or a falling out, you think, you can run stories in your head, can't you? And think, what do they say?
When I split up,
how do you know the difference? That's what I was going to ask you. How do you know the difference between?
It took me 7 years to learn it. It took me 7 years to learn this stuff. And I remember one day I woke up and I felt really, really low. And I didn't know why, because I hadn't been out the night before. It's when I was being removed from the party lifestyle, and I felt really depressed. I was like, what the hell is wrong with me? I heard a voice said, go down to the high street, park your car in Morrison's, and walk into this charity shop. And I followed what the voice said. And on the bookshelf of the charity shop, it had my ex-boyfriend's name, like full on. So it was saying, you're picking up on his thoughts, and he'd been on a bender the night before. So I was picking up his energy of feeling depressed, on a come down, all of that, because I'm so psychic.
Yeah. What was the thing you said? Or you just saw his name on a book?
No, the voice told me to park my car, go into this specific charity shop I'd never been in, and go and look on this shelf, and it had his name. So it was my spirit guide saying, you're picking up on him. You're not depressed, because I'm like a sponge. I pick up energy.
Yeah. Wow. Oh, that's amazing, isn't it?
No, I probably sound mental to some people, but I don't care.
No, not at all. Not at all. Most people here are, awake and aware to that degree, that, with that kind of thing. And Charity is saying, well, thank you. I have random thoughts that come true, and dreams even years before they come true.
Wow. So prophecy. You could really develop that, You could really develop that. She's definitely got the gift.
Yeah. Do you have that? Angela? Do you have the, do you get times when you see the future?
I have had I've had a couple of worldly things. I remember was it about a year or two ago, I was cleaning and I got a download. They showed me a Taylor Swift concert. It looked like Wembley, but it was a big arena and a bomb. And 3 weeks later, it was in the newspaper that a bomb had been uncovered at a Taylor Swift concert in Vienna. And it was just so random. So I do get things like that, but I get personal predictions and stuff. But it's a lot of it's quite random.
Yeah. And that's quite a big thing, isn't it? If you're able to see things like that, and it wouldn't be the best thing in the world to have that regularly, because you don't know, because you want to try and help people, wouldn't you, and stop them from going to those places.
Exactly. How could I do anything? But I think she's very psychic, and if she's having dreams and downloads and prophecy in her dreams, she could develop that.
She's saying how? Charity's saying how?
Sit in the power, start doing meditation. I think I said it earlier, I think someone asked about their loved one. Just listen to just quieten the mind, meditation, and just ask your guides, like, give me more clairvoyance, more clairaudience, just help me on this journey. Start learning tarot. There's so much you can do.
Yeah, that's it. So if you ask in that state when you're in meditation, you create a powerful energy when you do that, and you'll find that you'll be guided. There are opportunities everywhere, aren't there? And if it's your vocation, if it's your path, things will come along.
Absolutely.
So Russ has just put up Angela's website there, and so if you want to connect with Angela, there's a website, and on Instagram as well. Yeah. So Angela, thank you. It's been lovely speaking with you.
Lovely. Yeah, I know it has. Thank you so much for having me on, and I'm really looking forward to reading your book.
We'll stay on and we'll have a little chat afterwards. Yeah.
Oh, right. Yeah.
I'll end the stream now. So guys, thank you so much. Thank you, Megan, and thank you everyone for your questions and for being here. And I hope Happy New Year to you all, and I hope 2026 is a wonderful year. It started off brilliant for me. I've had so many exciting things going on. I'm kind of buzzing. I'm really buzzing with everything going on, and really exciting things. So I'll tell you more as the weeks go by, but for now, have a lovely weekend. Boa fim de semana, as we say here in Portugal, and I'll see you in 2 weeks. Take care.